time has gone before.
Boldly taking talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black.
Vibing with a little TLC to welcome us back in. This is from the fan mail album. No? What album is this from? Okay, wait. This is not the first album. Okay, what album is this on? Because I thought Crazy, Sexy, Cool. Okay, Fan Mail was on that album. It was Fan Mail was the third album. Okay, Crazy, Sexy, Cool was the second album. That had Waterfalls. Okay, I knew that. That also has, this isn't Digging on You, right? Okay. Let's Do It Again. That's what Digging on You and Let's Do It Again, they are close to each other as track listings on there. That's what it is. All right, I'm trying to keep my 90s listings together. 94, TLC. Shout out to them. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. I like the music. So we got to vibe for a second with the playlist because Andy comes with the deep cuts.
All right. Trivia.
Okay.
What was TLC's first album?
What do you mean? Ain't You Brought the Bag?
That's not the name of it. Nope. It was on there, though.
Well, TLC's first album, was it just TLC? I mean, it had What About Your Friends, Hat to the Bag, Baby, Baby, Baby. I know Ooh on the TLC tip. What am I talking about? Ooh on the TLC tip. What are you talking about? Hat to the Bag, Gotta Kick My Pants Down Real Low. That's the type of girl I am. That's the type of girl I am. Yeah. Still to this day. Shout out to Deontay Wilder. Anyway, you are locked in with RSVP with Jill Munroe here. And, we got to get into... Shout out to Urban Spinster for reminding me. Didn't see you, but ooh on the TLC tip. I got it, though, eventually. It's a lot of albums, And if you think about it, it's just 3, but... not a lot of albums, a lot of years between the albums. You know what I'm saying? But when you think about it, right, like those 3, and I know Fan Mail being the last one, that's the one that had No Scrubs on it and Silly H.O. It still was a lot of cuts in there. I like TLC. I miss TLC.
Greatest female group of all time.
I agree with you, and I've had conversations with people like this. They don't understand TLC when they came out as a side, but kind of appropriate because TLC kind of hip-hop involves that, we cannot sleep on Left Eye and what she represented as far as a female MC, especially at that time period. With bars on different types of songs and subject matter, right? Because you think about when TLC dropped at that time, really the model for girl groups was not girls in baggy jeans, T-shirts, just kind of looking like tomboys, like they were just straight out the club. And so they changed the aesthetic that was okay. Them and Mary J. Blige, I guess. Mary came out. She had the baseball jerseys and the tights.
That was a swag for most.
That was for girls. It was like Jade,
even
they
Aaliyah.
did. Jade came out, but Aaliyah was after. Aaliyah's 93, so I'm TLC and Mary before that. Even I'm gonna go even further. There was a group from LA. They were on Motown. They were called YNV, right? And Chocolate Tie was their single, right? And that before Aaliyah, that was their look too. Some of your favorite 90s looks that the younger generation puts together. They were one of the first to kind of put that out there. West Coast girls. Shout out to them. They also were dancers, so they were featured in a couple of videos and things of that nature. But shout out to them, and shout out to TLC, and shout out to Andy for always breaking us off with the hit.
I'm glad that you kind of broke down the whole fashion aspect because this past weekend I had watched this documentary. I forgot the name of it. It's on Netflix.
Ladies First, the documentary. Dream Hampton, yes.
Let me tell you something. Fire documentary. But I remember they were kind of talking about the transition, the fashion aspect, especially with women, because it wasn't just hip hop. I mean, I think it was R&B as well too. But I just felt like that whole tomboy look, that was definitely predominant throughout maybe the first half of the 90s.
Fact.
It wasn't until, and correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't until Lil' Kim and Foxy kind of came into the game where they embraced their whole sexiness, because fast forward to 98 when Aaliyah came out with Are You That Somebody, it was this big deal about her, wearing a skirt, showing off a little bit of leg or whatnot.
Right.
So
you are absolutely right. I mean, it changed. I think and you also, what you have to credit or kind of think about that was happening at that time period too was the bling era. So we were going from gangster rap and that type of thing, conscious rap, wearing the medallions and things of that nature. What I call boy music, that's what I call speaker music, where it's really about the lyrics. The beats were a different type of beats. I will give examples, but you guys might be mad at me, maybe later. I mean, we are on the eve of the birth of hip hop, so totally appropriate topic, but I do think that the bling era started coming in, and there was a change. You saw the rise of Bad Boy and Shiny Suit Man and Mace and things of that nature. You also saw Trina coming in with Nan, who was giving you a different type of thing, the stripper vibe, whereas Little Kim and Foxy, they were a little more naked, but they were still very much New York girls, so it was fashion game. It was, Donna Karen, Norma Kamali, whatever else was popping at that time period. But as we started moving around and the brand started elevating, because you even think about Kim and even her style evolved when she finally dropped her second album. She was all high fashion, and we hadn't seen that from a female rapper at that time. Like Latifah wasn't doing it, Light hadn't done it before her, or any of those people. So, there's a direct beat from, kind of hood homegirl, I guess, and as you grow up, your style evolves and the money gets bigger. So I think if you look at hip hop throughout the 90s, in theory, that's what you saw taking place, So, just just my opinion on that, all brought about because of a song.
And also, kind of changed gears, but that documentary, watch it. What was the name of it one more time?
I believe it's Ladies First. Because I'm actually, Dream Hampton is one of the executive producers of it. She is a journalist. She wrote a lot of stuff. She wrote with Jay-Z, what is the Jay-Z book that came out? The white one. Oh my God, how am I the name? It's his book. Jay-Z book. Look, I'm about to Google, not Book of Ho, Decoded. That's what it is. She's the co-writer on Decoded. She also famously wrote several articles and cover stories for Vibe magazine. And the woman that also produced it with her is the co-author of Little Kim's biography that is dropping in the fall. So working on getting Dream, I don't know. She's a little elusive. She doesn't do as many interviews, but the co-author I'm looking, and the executive producer of this documentary, I'm looking to get them on. So check it out. Dope. It's on Netflix. If you notice, there are a couple of people missing from the documentary. And that is not because they weren't asked.
Talking about artists?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Ladies First, that's the name of the documentary on Netflix.
Fine.
But people commented how I think it was maybe Missy Elliott is not her music, or she's not featured as much in there.
No, they highlighted her for sure.
They did highlight her.
Definitely highlighted.
And then there's someone, Nicki's music isn't featured in there, I don't
They
believe.
highlighted her for
They
sure.
highlighted her, but
yes.
because there was a problem, from what I understand, with some of the musical rights for some of those ladies. Like, you can't tell the story without including them, but I think that there was a thing maybe as to why they aren't physically in the doc.
And you know what? That's okay, because I think a lot of the people that were actually physically involved in the doc, I just want to kudos. I felt like they highlighted certain female MCs that were pretty prominent, but might have not have been as big, like Rod Digger, for example.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? They gave her a feature, and you know what I'm saying? She gave time to speak. Tierra Whack, I didn't even know too much about Tierra Whack, but now after watching that,
You're a fan?
I'm a fan. I don't even know her music. But I gotta go ahead and tap in. But I brought that up because one of the things about that documentary that was very profound was just seeing the change. Like in the beginning of hip hop, it came from this organic, natural, just essence of struggle and speaking about the struggle, speaking about life. And as time progressed, you can just see hip hop being commodified and everything changed from that point. Not saying that hip hop wasn't impactful, but you can tell that a lot of people now are doing it for the money grab as opposed to, for the love. And this is just what the culture, presented.
I love that. I mean, because the early stories of hip-hop, I'm glad that we're getting to dive more into it and see more things. I do have a question for you about women in hip-hop. I think that we need to take a break now, so when we can go. We vibing. Okay, so I have two questions for you. One are kind of separate. Well, one is a comment and a question. There's a Showtime documentary that just dropped on the 8th on Biz Markie. Nobody Beats the Biz. It is about his life. Did not realize how much Biz factored into early hip-hop in careers and communion with Rakim, with, we know about the Juice Crew and things like that, but very interesting story. I interviewed director Sasha Jenkins, so I'll be playing segments from those interviews next week so you can hear Sasha's story and hear Biz's story and how they put that together. But that's currently out on Showtime, so check it out. But Andy, what I want to ask you kind of on, and this might be a little controversial, but it's about women in rap. Mm-hmm. So did they have anything about Blondie, Deborah Harry in there?
No.
Right, and I know you're wondering why I asked that. I wonder, do some consider her song Rapture, where she name dropped Fab Five Freddy, it's considered one of the early rap songs technically, right? Because she's rapping in it.
Right.
Very much is. Again, she was a part of the culture. That's why Fab Five Freddy was in the video and being shouted out. But Blondie, Deborah Harry, who is the lead of the group Blondie, is obviously a white woman that they were doing new wave or whatever, but it was one of the songs that set the foundation and kind of put hip-hop to a more mainstream audience. So are you familiar with that song, one? Not at all?
No.
I'm going to need you to go look that up and listen to it. I think it dropped in 77, 78. There's a video for it, kind of trippy. Used to get a lot of run on MTV. Another kind of liaison or lead into hip-hop. Eventually we know it would take probably 10 years from that point, airing more on MTV. But I often wonder what people consider the first female rap star to be. Is it Roxanne Shante? I haven't watched it yet.
Do you want that answer?
I want that answer from you. We can say whatever they said in the documentary, but what do you consider?
What do I consider the first female MC?
The first star.
The first female MC. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, based off of the documentary, I knew about her, Roxanne Shante. I knew about her, but the way they broke her down and when they interviewed a lot of the other female MCs who came up in the game, just the acknowledgement of Roxanne Shante when she was like 14
years old,
ripping these dudes and all that other type of stuff. So I got to give it to Roxanne Shante.
So you best go about your way and have a nice day. That's a Roxanne Shante song.
She was ripping.
She was. Shout out to Urban Spinster. She said, Andy, you're so young.
I know.
Rapture was sampled by KRS-One. When he goes, I can't sing. It's really high. Step into the world of MC. Mm-hmm. That's Rapture.
Okay.
That's what that's sampled from. So that's the song.
Then I do know the song then.
Okay. So go back and listen to it now that you know that it is a white woman, a white group singing that, and check out what you think of it. But
there was definitely no acknowledgement.
I mean, I don't know if many people would consider it as such. It's just something that I think about just, being a small kid at the time when it dropped, but being enthralled with it. The song caught my ears, and just knowing the pacing that hip-hop took. But I'm glad you brought up Roxanne Shante. We know that she had, was it Netflix, I believe, that not a documentary, her biopic her biopic aired on, I believe. Nia Long played her mother in that. But the saga with that started with UTFO, really quickly for those maybe who don't know. Started with UTFO. They were a group out of New York, trio. Two of them were dancers initially. They were backup dancers for Houdini on the Fresh Fest tour back in the day. So when you saw, we talk about Jermaine Dupri, we talked about him last week being in the video for Friends and so forth, pop locking on the tour. Some of the dancers that were backing there were Dr. Ice and Kango Kid. So they dropped this song, Roxanne, that we all know. It spawned some spinoffs. Roxanne Shante dropped her answer, and it was on from there. Also, shout out to Roxanne Shante, Big Daddy Kane, and Rick James. They had a song called Lucy's Rap that was crazy back in the day. And it was kind of early. Rick James was like dabbling in the hip-hop scene kind of early at that point, and it was seen as really cutting edge and edgy that he got on a track with Kane and Roxanne Shante. So that was something that kind of bopped out for you. You know that one?
With the history lesson? I do not.
Oh, see, you're going to have to go look it up. So it's called Lucy's Rap.
Lucy's Rap.
Lucy's Rap. So it's Big Daddy Kane, Roxanne Shante, and Rick James. So there you go. And on the, they actually tried to play Roxanne Shante because she was not down with UTFO. They went and got their own Roxanne, and they called her the real Roxanne, and she was Puerto Rican. And I'm not going to lie, I rocked with both of them, but Roxanne Shante was the originator, so I rocked with her a little harder. And it was kind of obvious that the real Roxanne couldn't really rap that well, but, it's neither here nor there. It just happened, right? And shout out to UTFO. Like Urban Spinster said, rest in peace to Kango Kid. He passed away recently of illness. But I can tell you that I rocked that UTFO album. There's a song on there called Fairy Tale Lover where they were singing before Drake and Ja Rule. Ooh, that song is good and terrible, off-key, but it was my jam. And, of course, Roxanne, and a couple others. So shout out to them and the Fresh Fest. When we come forward, we will have more trending topics and headlines. We're going to get into a little bit of those executives. I'm going to continue a little bit on with the list. We're going to tell you about the fashion brands that have linked up together to create Voltron of the fashion industry. We're going to get into what happened with Little Tay. Was it a hoax? Is it clout chasing? We're going to talk a little bit about what has gone down with that. And we're going to tell you what LL Cool J said about his early years in hip-hop. All that and more, you are listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Have you heard about Lendistry? Lendistry is a national black-led small business lender that is headquartered right here in LA. Once you've started your business, Lendistry provides flexible financing options starting at $50,000 to help you access the affordable capital needed to grow. Whether financing is needed to increase working capital, inventory and equipment, or refinance debt, Lendistry has a solution for you. Lending products range from traditional business term loans and non-revolving lines of credit to SBA 7A loans and commercial real estate financing. Lendistry's free application process is simple and does not impact your credit score. Visit lendistry.com/KBLA to learn more and to get started with an application right from the website.
The Chase Ink Business Premier Card is made for people who make things happen, like me. I'm Sam, founder and CEO of Manifest, a product design company that makes everyday products designed smarter. I get 2.5% cash back on purchases of $5,000 or more, plus unlimited 2% cash back on all other purchases, which helps us make more smart ideas into a brilliant reality.
The Ink Business Premier Card. Learn more at chase.com/business premier. Chase for business. Make more of what's yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Account subject to credit approval. Restrictions and limitations apply. Cards are issued by JP Morgan Chase Bank and any member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
The rent is too damn high. KBLA joins you in calling for affordable housing. The LA Tenants Union is a diverse, tenant-led movement fighting for the human right to housing for all. The LA Tenants Union demands safe, affordable housing and union rent control. They organize against landlord harassment, mass evictions, and displacement, and mobilize for the repeal of the Ellis Act and Costa-Hawkins Act. The LA Tenants Union is on a mission to strengthen tenants' political power through education, advocacy, and direct action. To get help with your eviction or other landlord-tenant issues, take action for justice, or become a member, visit latenantsunion.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, it's Jill Munroe. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. We are having a conversation about women in hip-hop. There are other stories that we're going to get to, but I really like this topic. So, first of all, shout out to the chat. Sassy Mama Omo says, I'm trying to see what Andy is looking like. She said, the show sounds good, by the way. I love the topics you cover. Thank you so much for locking in. We appreciate it. We try to make sure that you are filled to the brim with information, entertainment, and fun. So I'm glad that you are picking up what we are putting down and appreciating it over here. Andy.
You ain't never gonna see me.
He said you ain't never gonna see him. Listen, I don't know. I tried. I'm passing along the information. You know, keep it up, though. You never know. Maybe we can convince him. Urban Spencer brought up Full Force. Let me tell you, as somebody that loved Full Force get busy one time. I think that Full Force does not get enough credit for what they did. Kind of also, too, blending that hip-hop sound. They had hardcore percussions and beats. Their pen game, immaculate. Lisa and Colt Jam, we all love that. I didn't know. I knew what she was talking about when she said, I wonder if I'd take you home. But I didn't know what she was talking about. But I was singing my whole heart out, talking about it. And then the spoken part on there, the little breakdown. No, it's just that I feel like you're rushing me. Yeah. Peak 80s dance music thing, which kind of brings up a point because we know Lisa and Colt Jam had their turn with Let the Beat Hit 'Em. Is that what it's called? I believe so. Let the beat hit 'em. Kind of with dance music. Shout out to Latifah, because people forget, like, her early cut, Princess of the Posse, Coming to My House. Latifah definitely was on kind of a house music vibe with her hip-hop. Of course, she can spit. And I know that we are so far removed from the last musical output of Latifah. She did perform at Rock the Bells a couple weeks ago. Didn't miss a beat. Was out there putting it down. But, you know, I just wanted to give props to those people and individuals really quickly because, you know, Latifah's an actress now and a superstar and all of these other wonderful things. But at heart, Latifah is hip-hop, and she's an MC. So just a reminder to that. Shout it out. Urban Spencer says Latifah has done it all. Terry says Urban S did his ads on Kung Fu Theater about noon on Saturday and Sunday. Urban S. White was a man that sold used cars at Southgate near the 710 close to Firestone. Are you talking about like Go See Cal? Is that someone like him? Cal Worthington and his dog Spot? I think that was in Long Beach maybe though. So shout out to you, Terry, for putting us up into some old school game. I guess I'm assuming that they used hip hop in their advertisements at that time too. So since we're on a hip hop topic, let's get into what LL Cool J shared recently when he was on The Breakfast Club. So LL spoke about his early career and how he got started with Def Jam and produced his first single, I Need a Beat. And what he shared was that when he first did that, he did it for the label without a contract. And his thoughts were, sometimes you have to crawl over the barbed wire fence with no shirt on to get what you want. So he said he built his career from that point, you know, obviously gained equity in Def Jam, represented for FUBU. Now he's an actor on NCIS Los Angeles. He's on Lip Sync Battle. He owns his own catalog, But what I do find interesting is I don't think that LL gets the love that he should from this latter generation. I think people forget sometimes that he's an MC. Sometimes you hear, but I think like when we speak about Drake, and we're going to be having a story about Drake that we'll talk about in a minute, but Drake is kind of your lover boy rapper. You know, he doesn't have the diesel body of LL. Well, he does now with a little lipo, I heard. But anyway, the point being is that LL set the stage for all that. There was no love in hip-hop before he made I Need Love. Those classic keytones, I'm telling you, people that can't play the piano can probably plink out I Need Love if they come across the piano or something like that. So I think people forget how he was only 16 years old and the energy and that he came through with. I think they forget that, you know, I know that he is persona non grata for some right now, but Russell Simmons and his life story was made with the movie Crush Groove. People forget about the scene where LL came in through the door, 16 years old, had never acted, and completely captivated the screen. So, I mean, when we're going back through these 50 years of hip-hop, it is interesting to see someone like LL who has longevity in the business and did something that not a lot of people did. He was one of the first rappers to hit the screen. And the fact that he is still on TV in 2023, it's got to be saluted. And, I mean, surprisingly, he's touring. You know, he has his Rock the Bells website, which obviously is Rock the Bells, his famous cut from the album. And the website is all about hip-hop nostalgia. So shout out to LL for holding it down. But I do think that it might help if LL, I know he's touring a little bit, but I would like to see him perform a little bit more, get his roses maybe in a semi-arena tour or something, you know, since old is new. I think that would be a dope thing to see, and I think that the youth would appreciate it. Because one thing I guarantee you, I bet you LL's stage presence hasn't missed a beat. I bet you those vocal timbers, the way that he puts it down and delivers, I bet you all of that is firmly intact.
I said this before. BET Awards some years ago, they used to have the BET Experience. Prior to the BET Awards, they would have like this major hip-hop concert at what was then the Staples Center. And I remember it was Nas, it was Ludacris, and it was LL Cool J. I miss Ludacris. I was very disappointed in that. I got in time for Nas. Very disappointed. You talked about
yes,
it.
I did.
Very disappointed in this stage show. But then LL came through and tore it down. After he was done, it looked like he had just took a shower or whatever. I mean, this dude was dripping. It looked like he had like a leather shirt, and that was drenched in sweat. But the height, the classics, everything. Shout out to LL. Great stage show.
Pink cookies in a plastic bag, getting crushed by a building. LL got heat. Who do you love? Come on. Listen. If you're sleeping on LL, don't. When we come forward, we will get into an interview that Drake did that caused a little commotion, waves, accusations of the person being an industry plant. We got the scoop on how she actually scored that interview with Drake. We're going to talk a little bit about what is going on with TJ Holmes and his ex, Amy Robach, or maybe they're still together. We're going to talk about their future situation and what's going on with them. When we come forward, we'll have news and sports. All of those stories and more, you are checking out RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
I'm Doug Davis, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. 2 more suspects have been arrested in the riverfront brawl in Montgomery, Alabama. The fight that broke out on Saturday gained national attention because of a viral video. The fight reportedly began when one group of men refused to move their boat from where the city-owned riverboat usually docks. There are new talks between striking writers in the big Hollywood studios. Earlier this morning, the Writers Guild of America told its members that contract talks will resume on Friday. It will be the first day of negotiations since the strike started 100 days ago. A Detroit area woman says she brought home a container of spinach from a store and discovered a live frog inside while unpacking her groceries. The woman says the Earthbound Farms organic spinach package was sealed with the animal inside. Have a great Thursday. That's the latest. I'm Doug Davis and BINnews.com.
Make home more comfortable, make your business run better, and make California just a little greener in the process. Plan your energy efficiency upgrade. Find qualified contractors and attractive rates at GoGreenFinancing.com.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Boldly taking talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black.
What does access mean?
Access means owning a home. Access means growing my business.
Access means building generational wealth.
No matter your goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Programs and initiatives provide the tools and resources to help you reach them. Access your financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family was founded to help address domestic violence and sexual assault in the Asian and the Pacific Islander communities. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family's mission is to build healthy and safe communities by addressing the root causes and consequences of family violence and violence against women. They are committed to meeting the specific cultural and language needs of the Asian and Pacific Islander women and their families. CPAF's vision is of an Asian and Pacific Islander community that embraces healthy relationships and works in partnership with other communities to eradicate all forms of violence. To access services, volunteer, or for more info, visit nurturingchange.org. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe everyone deserves to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As black folk, we know how to face tragedy and not fall into despair. And yet sometimes the points of pain are felt so acutely, especially when we know full well that we're being treated unfairly by our so-called justice system that at times appears to be anything but just. After more than 30 years of public service, Mark Willie Thomas is set to be sentenced on Monday, August 21st, for his conviction on bribery and conspiracy in a federal corruption trial. As you well know, Willie Thomas was found not guilty on 12 of the 19 counts the feds brought against him. This is not your typical corruption case. No lavish trips, no victim, no cash in a brown bag, no illegal contributions from a wealthy donor, no money received by the accused, no use of taxpayer dollars. There is therefore no need to incarcerate Ridley Thomas to protect the community. Indeed, the probation department has recommended a mere 18-month sentence. But the feds, they want MRT to serve 6 years. 6 years. How is that fair? This happens far too often to defendants who just happen to look a lot like you and me. First, they target you. Then they overcharge you. Then they fight to keep certain folks off the jury. Then they spend millions of your tax dollars prosecuting a victimless $100,000 criminal allegation. Then, typically, they win, and why shouldn't they? In reality, no case of United States government against you is really a fair trial, if you feel me. Then, after they win, they ask for a sentence of more than 3 times what the probation department is recommending. Again, I ask, how is that fair? I read the federal government summary document regarding the sentencing of MRT. and the charged language they use is both revealing and despicable. You can clearly see their disdain for the constituent community, for the black clergy who have stood with MRT, and mostly for MRT, daring to exercise his constitutional right to even go to trial to defend himself. The feds demanding a 6-year sentence in this case is their way of punishing an uppity Negro who dared to fight back. Let's hope that the judge in this case sees through this racist masquerade and delivers a sentence of time commensurate with the crime, even as MRT appeals this verdict. There are no good times to be black. Comments.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Really ridiculous. Rapper can rap like you can. I take a muscle bound man and put his face in the sand. Got the last mafioso, I'm a MC Kai. I make you say go LL and do the what? You think you kinda rocky? I feel like I'm bad cause I ain't met a mother who can do that, yeah? If I get good, I got a gold name plate that says I wish you would. And it's over. Okay, wait. But he's in the rap and say the kid don't play. Niggas surprised cause I don't know the mob. I think my phone is tapped. I'm bad. Cool J. Shout out to Andy bringing the heat with the playlist. I'm telling you, if you haven't seen LL Cool J live, you should do that. You should make it a point in your life. And if you're like unfamiliar with LL's rap style, go back and Google those videos. Just watch them. I think it's good for your spirit. It's good for your soul. In the chat, they are saying, yeah, LL was fine. He just needs to own his hotness. He's the sexy, talented man. Pretty Brown Mimi dropped in. Ladies, Andy is cute. I saw him once and taken. So she trying to shut you down, Andy. All praises due to Mrs. Andy. But she trying to make sure you don't get no run. So shout out to that. Urban Spencer said, I need a beat. Yes, LL. She's feeling it. She also dropped in and mentioned the story that LL shared. Before we came forward, I was rapping a few of the lyrics from Pink Cookies in a Plastic Bag, Getting Crushed by a Building. LL said he was high. He has no idea what that means. People have debated on for years about that, but, you know, whatever. It worked for us at the time. I mean, I recall him saying it had something to do with like a condom and things like that. I don't know. But again, maybe he was just loaded when he was sharing that information too. Well, speaking of the extension of LL, Drake, as I said, I see a direct through line between them. A recent interview that he did with a woman named Bobby Altoff. She has a podcast called The Really Good Podcast. She and Drake were in bed interviewing, talking to each other. Bobby's white. She's a young mother, 26 years old. She's just recently started her podcast not too long ago. And many people were wondering how, for like her fourth interview, was she able to secure someone like Drake? How did that come together? And they were throwing the label on her industry plant. That's something that we've seen thrown around quite a bit lately as where someone seemingly takes off in popularity or, you know, celebrity status, attention, and people aren't sure where they came from, so they assume that they were placed in the industry by them, whoever they are, for whatever reason, to take up space and to take space away from someone else. So, in an article in Complex, it was discussed with Bobby how she actually got her interview with Drake. So, summary of what happened. Basically, Bobby got on TikTok and she made a video saying that she would pay someone $300 to successfully connect her to a celebrity for an episode of her podcast. Right? So the first person to respond to that was a guy named Rick Glassman. He did her first episode. She then offered another $300 for someone to connect her to a guy named Funny Marco. He's another person that interviews, has a similar dry, kind of sarcastic style that he utilizes, but Funny Marco is not white, he's black. And so she interviewed with him. So what happened with that is that Drake saw that interview because Funny Marco posted a clip from it. He liked it, and then he followed her. So she debated, what should I do? Should I just say, hey, it's cool that Drake is following me? No, she didn't do that. She DM'd Drake directly, and he agreed to be on her podcast. She says that he sent her his tour schedule, and she got things activated right away. She flew and met him in Tennessee to set up the interview. She said she pays for her own production of her podcast. She paid for her plane tickets. She has recently signed a deal with a major talent agency, and so there are more interviews that are coming and evolving from that. But initially, it was just a $300 offer, no industry plant involved. And I know that there's been a lot of conversation about who Drake has chosen to do interviews with this. He had a little war of words with Elliott Wilson, and some people are saying Drake hasn't done like a major interview, a major in-depth one with a high-profile publication, for lack of a better term, since 2019. So some are questioning, though, while that story is sweet, would the story have rolled out that way if she had been a black content creator as a woman? Because we do see that Drake stays tapped into the culture. He recently did a skit with, I can't remember the guy's name. It was pretty funny. I retweeted it on X, on my Twitter, if you want to go check that out. And so he's making and finding ways to stay tapped in. They're just not the conventional ones. And so he's kind of shaking up, I guess, and he did it with his album that he released with the with 21 Savage, where they did the fake Vogue cover, even though they got sued, but it garnered a lot of attention, and they were doing the fake interviews, press junket thing. So I think Drake is changing his approach as far as press and media, and it will be interesting to see how that develops and what comes from that. So that's your news on Drake right there. So we mentioned Little Tay, the Instagram influencer, I guess, that yesterday there was a story that was shared to her Instagram stating basically that she had passed away and that her brother had also passed away. There was questions made to her father, who also sometimes served as her manager. Her manager also spoke out, and they would not confirm the story, said that they weren't aware. Well, today Little Tay came out and said that her Instagram was hacked. She and her brother are both fine, and though it has been a rough couple of years, that everything is good and they're okay, and she doesn't know why someone would target her in this fashion. So last night, Trent the artist, when he was on, Trent said right away that he thought that it was a scam. So do you think that Little Tay was just clout chasing, maybe missing the limelight, maybe missing some of the money that came along with it, and thought this would be a great way to reinsert my name into the conversation, but to, maybe act innocent? I don't know. She's only 14 years old. She did point out that the story didn't even contain her real name. It said her name was Claire. Her actual name is Tien. So, there are certain things that sound off of it, of course. TMZ naturally checked in with the LA Police Department and the coroner's office, and they had no notes of any investigations into a woman by the name of Claire. So we'll have to see what the next developments are with this case and how it sort of plays out as far as social media, because there is a concern and there is a thought process that much like young actors are protected and there are things put in place for them as far as how much they can shoot, what happens with their money. Something similar needs to happen for these young social media stars that are being, living out their dreams, taking advantage of, exploited. You choose, depends on the person. So we hope that everything is okay with that situation and everything flows safely with that. When we come forward, we're going to give you the latest update on TJ Holmes and Amy Robach. I know I said that I wasn't sure if they're together or not, and I'm not, but they were spotted out together, and one of them has a new job. At one point, both were being considered, but only one of them got the job. We will have all the details to that when we come forward. You are listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go, shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Dominique DePrima here. Having a good credit score is one critical step to obtain a loan to buy a home. But did you know that your credit score is just one factor in getting a mortgage loan? Think about this. Lenders also consider your income, your employment history, current monthly debts, the size of the loan, and the amount of your down payment. Whatever your financial goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Initiatives support you in reaching them. Access your personal financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You are locked in with Jill Munroe here on RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So you know it's Thursday, my Friday, so that means I have to give you deets on what you need to check out, what to watch this weekend. Now, we've already mentioned Ladies First, a story of women in hip-hop. That's available on Netflix. Hip Hop turns 50 tomorrow. That's a perfect way to celebrate. Appearances in the series include Queen Latifah, MC Lyte, Yo-Yo, The Brat, Remy Ma, Cash Doll, Sweetie, Lotto, and more. Rhapsody, as we heard earlier. So check it out. Get the history on the origins of women in hip-hop, something we don't want to miss. Episode 2 of Season 2 of Winning Time hits HBO Max on Sunday. Please lock in and get caught up with that. You know, that is my show. We love that. It's really compelling, so get locked in with that. There's also a documentary to check out on Netflix. Do you remember Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football? Well, they have a Netflix documentary about him, basically on the rise and fall of Johnny Manziel. It's basically what they're saying, a very raw and vulnerable, revealing, open-hearted interview that expresses everything he went through, all the trials and tribulations that sort of evolved from his quick career in the league. Also, if you're into sports, football season, it's here. You ready? Preseason is underway. We're getting it going. So if you're into that, Hard Knocks, the training camp with the New York Jets is on Max. Check it out. You know, they have a new player, MVP, former MVP, 4-time NFL MVP, Aaron Rodgers. He's with a new team this season, taking it all in the Big Apple. We're going to see if he can bring some winning to that franchise, a franchise that has been in the shadow of, you know, their boys down the hall, across the field, around the way, the New York Giants. We'll see if maybe the Jets have something that can be sparked up this season. Like I said, you know, preseason NFL picks. State your team. Feel free next week. State your team. You still got a couple of weeks to figure it out. I'm LA all day, so it's the Rams, no question. But there are players that I appreciate, so depending upon the matchup, you might see me cheer for something else. We'll get into that a little later. Also, on Netflix, a show called Painkiller stars Matthew Broderick and Uzu Aduba from Orange is the New Black. It's a limited series about the perpetrators, victims, and whistleblowers of the opioid crisis in America. So, you know, you can check that out. And, of course, you got to catch in. Well, this isn't to watch, but just sort of know that the best of KBLA, that'll be on after midnight, and the best of RSVP with Jill Munroe, that's what's going to be going down tomorrow night. So lock into that so you can catch up on anything that you've missed this week. We certainly appreciate it.
So tap in. We're going to get a little bit of Trent, a little bit of Giandra, and the doc, I believe, was that on Tuesday?
Dr. Illyri S. Dixon.
Yeah, you're going to
Nixon. I'm sorry.
On Friday, so
Nixon. Yeah, so make sure you tap in with that so you can see what we are about over the week. If you missed any episodes, you can get a little insight into the show. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Obviously, share. We love that. So let me give you the scoop on what's happening with TJ Holmes and Amy Robach. Allegedly. So allegedly, Amy is on the brink of sealing a new deal for a new job in television, according to the Daily Mail. She will have her own show on News Nation. So originally, they were thinking about bringing both her and TJ on, and they went as far to have like conversations about show concept and chemistry tests, but for whatever reason, they have decided that Amy is the one, and she will be the only one that's featured. But her colleagues, her future colleagues at the station, they're not too happy about it, and they are allegedly giving fever to the head honchos because they don't want the network to be seen as a dumping ground for disgraced anchors. You know, first they said it was Chris Stallworth, then it was Chris Kumo, and now Amy, so they're a little upset. We'll have to see if it happens. The show is expected to debut in January 2024, and it's tentatively titled Robach and Company, so we'll see what happens with that, you know. And meanwhile, TJ, we'll see if he turns up someplace, but allegedly the two are still somewhat involved and have been spotted out, so we'll have to see where that goes. Now, I know I mentioned that I wanted to run down and continue on with the list of the top 50 execs in hip-hop, but obviously we had a lot of guests this week, and we ran out of time for that. But what I will do is I at least want to share with you what the top ones are. So I'm going to give you the top 5 in no particular order, and just kind of see what your thoughts are. So, again, no particular order. Brian Birdman Williams and Slim Williams, Cash Money Records, they are in the top 5. They founded Cash Money Records in their native New Orleans in 1992, traveling across Louisiana in search of talent, right? And in 95, they locked down 12-year-old Lil Wayne, 14-year-old Christopher Dorsey, who became known as Baby D, and Little Dougie, renaming themselves Lil Wayne and BG. So that's one. Kind of wondering what your thoughts of that. Shout out to Mia X. Brian Turner, he's listed. If you want to know, Brian Turner is white. For Turner, the notoriety surrounding NWA's F the Police wasn't a marketing problem. It was the marketing. He is the co-founder of the LA-based Priority Records, one of the earliest known rap record labels that started on the West Coast. They were responsible for being the distribution sort of arm of a lot of independent music in the late 80s, early 90s. Who ran through there? Obviously NWA, Eazy-E. Ice Cube had his first independent deal with them. Also, No Limit, Master P. Houston's Rap-A-Lot came through there, and Jay-Z, Dame Dash, Biggs, Rockefeller Records. So shout out to him. He did help to establish a real big place and space for hip-hop, especially at a time when it was just evolving and developing. And, you got to salute him. I think that is a good one. Also in there, you got Top Dog, the co-founder of Top Dog Entertainment, CEO Anthony Top Dog. I'm going to jack up his last name, and I don't want to do that. Tiff. All right. Tiffith. Okay, Tiffith. So I think that top 5, I don't know, but maybe, you look at what Kendrick's done. You look at the run that SZA's just been on. She's not hip-hop, but it is a hip-hop label. And the fact that she dethroned Taylor Swift with the #1 album and the number of weeks that she kept it there, you got to give some credence to that. Shout out to Schoolboy Q, obviously, a part of TDE. 2012's Good Kid, Mad City. That's a classic. Set up Kendrick on a run, and we know that Kendrick recently released, well, not recently, but recent enough, his final album with TDE, so we'll see what life is like for those two on a different course, away from each other. We have Steve Stout next up. He started with Run DMC, had something to do with the Adidas collaboration, NWA, all of the band ambassador things. Steve Stout is one of those ones. He put it down. He's legendary. Made a lot of connections throughout his career. You got to think about he managed Nas, right? He was a former label executive at Interscope. So he helped to create cool within hip-hop. He also linked up with Ogilvy, which was an advertising agency. So, decent. A name that we hear reference but haven't heard in a while, Shakir Stewart. We know he tragically took his life in 2008. He's from Oakland, a veteran. Put it down. He was a real one. Shake, as he was known by. He was responsible for a lot of things regarding LaFace Records. We might revisit this topic next week because I think it's an important one and we can expound on some of these things. Thank you for rocking with RSVP with Jill Munroe this week, VIPs. We always appreciate it. As mentioned, when we come forward, you will hear the best of KBLA. Remember, Thursday is my Friday, so tomorrow night when you lock in, you will be hearing the best of RSVP with Jill Munroe. Thank you, VIPs. I appreciate it. Have an amazing night, and remember, you are VIP here always. Thanks for locking in. Have a great weekend.
Gotta do the weight, feedback on low latency. I'm gripping from the face, as my thoughts flow sacredly. I'm running out of space, ask me is she okay? Never mind 100K, why you lying on Benjamin? He turning in his grave, I be waiting, be a little Buddha. I'm Christ for the shooter.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.